Well, so Leon, the idea is that what could you deliver, like if you have a monthly thing, right? Which you'd have to have, I guess, if someone's paying you monthly, right? Um, then how can you inject into that things that would be sellable in the open market so that what you're creating for the people in your continuity are also going to appeal to the greater market? So let's now take a step out of this for a second. I want to kind of explain something else to you that I learned years and years ago, but very related to what we're talking about. So, something I learned from Mark Ford or Michael Masterson years ago was that not only like is this strategy for creating front end premiums, right? Like for what Agora does, not only is it great for acquiring customers, right? But it's also an ample testing ground for back ends. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, here's the thing, right? Like, so in the video that you watched of me in my backyard at night talking about front end, I was talking about, I mentioned the cryptocurrency trend that Agora seized upon and probably did over $100 million with crypto. Probably a lot more when you consider T over at Legacy. So we launch a front end, right? The premium is crypto. It crushes it, right? Well, think about this, right? So we have this offer giving away something about crypto, and it's absolutely crushing it. Now, what do we know about the people on our list as they compare to the market? It's the same, right? That like the people in the marketplace, our customers are just a subgroup of the people in the marketplace, right? Of all the people in the marketplace, our customers are some smaller circle of the bigger. So anything that is resonating with the market would also resonate with our customers. Now, we already have these customers, so we wouldn't want to sell our customers necessarily another front end offer. However, if a front end offer is crushing it on the to the outside market, then that begs the possibility, at the very least, the consideration that a back end product around the same topic, around the same strategy, around the same whatever, would probably resonate at a much higher price with much more value to your customers who already know, like, and trust you. So not only are you creating lots of front ends hoping to find that hit, but when you find that hit, then that also tells you you can create a back end to your customer list for that same thing, but just much deeper, much greater value, much more expensive. Let me know if that makes sense. You see, what most people don't recognize is that, and this is where, when we were talking about scaling like a few weeks ago, that the first thing that you have to do is you have to determine, right, whether or not your business model is viable, right? Are people interested in what it is you're offering, and will they pay it, and can you access your customers through the channels that you think you can, and what will be the cost to acquire these customers, and how much will they be worth to you? You have to understand whether or not it's viable. But once it is viable, right, then how do you design the business, design the product, design the way people work so that you maximize the growth of the business? You know, Peter Drucker said, the only purpose of a business is to get and keep customers. And I've never seen a business more optimally designed for that than Agora, because of that front end focus, to find the next hit. When we find the next hit, we also find another back end. That's not the only way we come up with back ends, but that is one way. And so everything reinforces itself, right? And so you get more leverage out of everything you're doing. And because you get more leverage out of everything you're doing, you can grow more. Because at the end of the day, how entrepreneurs get rich is by ever increasing amounts of leverage, period. You can get leverage on people, you can get leverage on your brand, you can get leverage on your expertise, your reputation, etc., right? But you're in some way, shape, or form, you're increasing the amount of leverage you get. That's how you get wealth. And so what we're doing is we're designing the business, right, the model, so that we maximize our leverage. Let me know if that makes sense. Let me know if that opens up questions for you. All right, the main offer stays the same, but the newsletter builds a relationship with prospects every year. They but the bonus and get the newsletter. The fulfillment for the newsletter potentially becomes the fulfillment for the new. Am I missing something? No, that's totally straight, right? But then the other thing is that anything that works really well, right? Exactly what you said, Mia. But then anything that works really well, like Blockbuster front end, is then potentially a back end that you should build out. So the newsletter is positioned by its bonuses. Not so much, Mia. the newsletter is sold by its bonuses, not necessarily positioned, but sold, right? Because every offer is going to start with the premium. So every offer is going to look totally different, right? So, like the example I just gave, learn the secret strategy that Russell Brunson used to grow ClickFunnels that profitably acquires customers day in and day out to the tune of $1 million a month. But then, I've done other Steal Our Winner calls this month, and so whatever another offer would be totally different. So you wouldn't even recognize from the front that we're offering the same thing at the end of the day to sell, right? The membership, the Steal Our Winner subscription, because the whole first half would be about the premium. Tips on building out a back end for front end offers that's converting. It sounds simple, more value, more expensive, but having trouble implementing. All right. Well, so there's so many issues with that, Lucas. The first thing is that obviously, so I'm going to take a step back here also for a second. One of the things that when I used to write my free reports, when I wrote them, my number one goal was not to make sales. My number one goal was to provide value. That when someone finished reading it, whether they bought or whether they didn't buy, they felt it was worth their time to read it. And my number two goal, a close second, was making sales. But the first goal was providing value. And the reason for that was that I knew that, the majority of people are not going to buy at any given moment. And so the best that I can hope for is that I've left the door open so that the next report I write, the person is willing to read that one too. And maybe that one will be the one that sells. But that if they didn't feel like they got value from the report, the likelihood of them reading the next report, one, they wouldn't buy. Two, right? Like if they didn't get value, why would they buy? And then two, the likelihood of them reading the next report, also not likely. So not likely to buy, not likely to buy ever. So I always wanted to provide value because not because I'm this generous, nice guy, but because it's the best business case, right? It's the best thing to do for my business is to make sure that when I put something in someone's hands, they get value out of it so I can put something else in their hands. So the very first thing, right, when you're looking at poor back-end sales is, have you really delivered on the front end? Have you built fans? Are people really pleased with what they've purchased? Because if they aren't, selling them another product is oftentimes going to be very challenging. So that's first, right? The second thing, which, is, let's see, what's the best way to say this? One of the challenges with a company like Agora is that because things change so quickly and so much in finance, they often don't have back ends that last a really long period of time. Now, I tried to get Agora to move in the direction of evergreen webinars for a long time. They have gotten somewhat into it over the last couple of years, but when I was working with Clayton Makepeace over at Weiss Financial, they did automated webinar. First, they just did regular webinars, and then they got some that were automated and evergreen, and it was a night and day difference for their business. So what Agora does is what we call internally pummeling, right? Whereas when someone buys that first front end, now they're just going to get back end offer, back end offer, back end offer. And there's not going to be any consistency between the back end offer and the front end offer for the most part, right? You could buy a front end offer like that is attracting you based on the fact that stocks are going to go down, and you can receive that's a front end offer, and then a back end offer about stocks going up. Like there's no consistency between front end and back end. Smaller businesses where you can have back ends that are evergreen, and even Agora can have evergreen back end. Then what you do is you put in place a 30, 60, 90-day sequence of emails that new buyers receive that will expose them to all your best back-end offers so that by the time whatever period of time is done, they have seen every back-end that you offer. And the timing of those should be based on whatever is sold best you should start with, because email lists degrade over time, and you want to get the maximum number of people seeing your best offer. Then less than that will see the next best offer, and so on and so forth. And if you do a JV promo, and you crush it, right, then you might want to put that JV promo in that initial 30, 60, 90-day sequence. Or you might want to have first your offers, then the best of your JV or affiliate offers, right? After you've you've tried every attempt to sell your own, sell someone else's and use the ones that have sold best in the past, right? Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to increase the lifetime value. That's the whole purpose of a back end, right? Is to make each customer worth as much as possible so that you can then afford to spend more to acquire those customers. And so that's kind of the game. And so there can be a lot of reasons why a backend doesn't convert, but first and foremost, are the people happy with what they've bought from you in the past? That's first. And then second, are you refining your back end offers so that they're getting better and better so that the next person that buys next week is going to see a more optimized back end just because you've been promoting it last week, the week before last, and you've been tweaking it and tightening it over time. That's really kind of the process there. So hopefully that makes sense.